This is preset 1, Bright Room, for example. Now I've switched to number 7, Plate Reverb. Now we're listening to the chorus. This is the tape slap, which adequately simulates a vintage tape echo. Hi, I'm Rob from B&H, and today we're looking at the Mackie ProFX16. This is the 16-channel model in Mackie's ProFX series of mixers, which also includes 8, 12, and 22-channel versions. Mackie mixers are terrific for live sound applications, but the ProFX series offers built-in effects and compressors that make it a great value in the world of sound reinforcement, and its USB port makes recording a stereo mix to your computer a snap. In fact, I've got my lav mic plugged into the board, and I'm recording the audio for this podcast to a laptop running Logic Pro. So let's take a closer look at the ProFX16. Mackie mixers are everywhere in the audio world because they're straightforward and intuitive to use, but offer the build and sound quality pros demand. The ProFX16 is no exception, offering 8 mono channels and 4 stereo channels, along with 4 subgroups, all with 60mm faders. There are 10 mic inputs with 50 dB of gain available on the low noise, high headroom preamps. Each channel also has a 1/4 inch input that can accommodate either balanced or unbalanced cables. The first 4 channels have insert jacks that allow you to insert outboard gear into the signal path after the preamp and the low-cut filter, but before the EQ. These are handy if you want to put an outboard compressor or EQ into the signal path. All our channels have the usual 3-band EQs, but the mono channels offer sweepable frequencies on the mids, while the mids on the stereo channels are fixed at 2.5 kHz. Pretty standard Mackie stuff, but it gets more interesting on channels 5 through 8. Here we don't have the insert option, rather there's a built-in 1-knob compressor. The ratio is set to around 6:1, and the knob adjusts the threshold or volume at which the compressor kicks in up to 0 dBu. The 6:1 ratio means that for every 6 dB of additional volume over the threshold, the compressor is going to squash that signal to yield only 1 dB of actual volume, allowing you to keep your levels under control. It's a soft knee compressor, which means that the compressor ramps in a bit for a more natural sound. Now we've only got 4 channels with compression, so you'll need to think about what signals are going to need a compressor when you start plugging in your inputs. Vocals and snare drums are good candidates, for example. I've actually got a bit of compression on my voice to even out my levels to the computer. Not everyone is going to love the limitations of 1-knob adjustments, but the design saves space, and in heat-of-the-moment live situations, it saves you a lot of time and confusion. Plus, if you need more control over your compression settings, you can always insert your own outboard compressor instead on channels 1 through 4. Each channel on the ProFX16 has 3 aux sends, and this leads us to another feature on the board that makes it such a great value. The orange send is labeled Effects, and it routes the signal to the 32-bit onboard effects processor. Mackie calls the effects processor gig ready, which means that the 16 presets on offer here are all usable, no-nonsense stuff like reverbs, choruses, and a couple of different delay options. You can edit them, but they sound quite solid. This is preset 1, Bright Room, for example. Yeah, aptly named. Now I've switched to number 7, Plate Reverb, and lo and behold, it sounds like a plate reverb. Now we're listening to the chorus. Quite useful for guitars and background vocals. This is the tape slap, which adequately simulates a vintage tape echo. Pretty neat. And there are 3 different preset delays with times of 300, 380, and 480 seconds to choose from. You're hearing me being sent to preset 14, the 380 millisecond option. The final preset is what we're hearing now, a reverb and 250 millisecond delay combination that's very useful. The lack of wacky effect options on the onboard processor may seem limiting, but it means you don't have to waste a lot of time paging through chipmunk effects or similarly useless stuff that you're never really going to use in a live situation. Of course, if you need more refined effects, you can also patch in your own outboard gear into either or both of the other 2 auxes if you don't need them for separate monitor mixes for your performers. A stereo effects return is provided and shows up right here beside the internal effects return for your listening pleasure. While we're here, note the handy 7-band graphic EQ, which you can engage across the stereo bus or the Monitor 1 aux for a quick tweak of the entire mix. Now let's get back to the USB bus I mentioned earlier. We can send signal to our computer's DAW in one of two ways. With the USB button not engaged, the main output of the ProFX feeds the USB bus, so I can record the live set to the computer and have a recording of the show immediately, which I can give or sell to my adoring fans. This is how I'm recording my voice for this video, so that the effects get recorded as well. Note that the USB bus feed is pre-master fader, so any changes I make on the master won't affect the level to the USB bus. If I engage the button, then subgroups 1 and 2 feed the USB bus, again pre-fader, so adjustments I make on the subgroup master fader only affect my monitors. Now it's a two-way USB bus, so not only can I send a signal from the mixer to the computer, I can also bring a stereo signal from the computer to the mixer, and I have two ways to bring it up on the board. One way is to engage the USB button on stereo channel 15 and 16, and then it'll show up at the gain knob just like any other signal would. Now I can EQ it, send it to the effects or monitors, it's just like any other channel. This is a great way to bring up virtual instruments from the computer. Now alternately, I can flip the source on the 2-track return switch to look to the USB bus for signal and turn up the level. So for houses of worship or venues where you want to play music between sets, I can hit the button, turn up the level, and fire up iTunes, for example. If I want to play an MP3 player or CD player instead, I can plug the device into the RCA inputs and leave the button up or in the tape position. With either source, I can hit the break button, which mutes all the channels so my audience won't hear anything from the stage during the transition between bands. A couple of accessories you might want to consider include a bag that Mackie makes for the ProFX16 mixer if you plan on traveling with it. Mackie also makes a nice little dust cover for the ProFX16, which, like the bag, features Mackie's delightful Running Man logo. Mackie also makes bags and dust covers that fit the 8, 12, and 22 channel ProFX models as well. So hopefully that gives you a reasonable idea of what Mackie's ProFX16 sound reinforcement mixer has to offer. Streamlined to offer an inexpensive, great sounding mixer for live sound applications with built-in effects, compressors, and a USB bus for stereo in and out to your computer, the ProFX16 has a lot to offer. I'm Rob from B&H, and thanks for watching.
For more information, please visit us online, give us a call, or stop by our New York City Superstore. You can also connect with us on the web.